Now we continue. We have explored how. So in general, one has this representation. Yeah. If you have an alcohol of this form, then if it is oxidized by a mild oxidizing agent, you get an aldehyde. Now that is, you only get an aldehyde for mild oxidizing agent, weak oxidizing agents. You get an aldehyde. Now there are two types of oxidizing agents, those that are weak and those that are strong. It is important to note that, if a strong oxidizing agent, I gave examples of strong oxidizing agents previously. If a strong oxidizing agent, Ig excess acidified potassium permanganate solution on heating. That is potassium permanganate acidified with dilute sulfuric acid and excess acidified potassium dichromate 6 solution heating. If a strong oxidizing agent, those are the two common strong oxidizing agents. For example, those ones. If a strong oxidizing agent is used, the aldehyde obtained is further oxidized to a carboxylic acid. If a strong oxidizing agent, for example, those ones is used, the aldehyde obtained is further oxidized to carboxylic acid. Yeah. For example, in these cases, if you obtain these aldehydes, if you use a strong oxidizing agent like those ones which I have highlighted, if you use a strong oxidizing agent, you first obtain that aldehyde. Recall we saw that these aldehydes can be oxidized to carboxylic acids. I taught that previously. So in the presence of a strong oxidizing agent, this aldehyde is first obtained, but then its percentage reduces because it is oxidized further to carboxylic acid. So the aldehyde obtained is further oxidized to a carboxylic acid. I.e., what do I mean? This is what I'm trying to imply. Do I have some time? Yeah, I think I have. This is what I'm trying to mean. If you have RCH2OH and this is a primary alcohol, and you are reacting it with the strong oxidizing agent like those ones that I have highlighted, you get RCHO, and this RCHO is further converted to RCOOH, still in presence of strong oxidizing agent. Yeah. So you only, if you want to get a good percentage of the aldehyde, if you want to obtain a good percentage of the aldehyde, you use a weak oxidizing agent. Otherwise, if you use a strong oxidizing agent, the primary alcohol is converted to a carboxylic acid. However, it is also important to note that however, one one can still obtain the aldehyde. One can still obtain the aldehyde if fractional distillation of obtained products is carried out. Yeah. Now, if you want to obtain your aldehyde in presence of a strong oxidizing agent, you have to employ fractional distillation. Yeah. To separate what? To separate the aldehyde from the carboxylic acid. Otherwise, if you don't employ fractional distillation, you have a higher percentage of the carboxylic acid. So, in principle, these are some of the examples. If you have ethanol, and you are reacting it with the acidified potassium permanganate solution, heat, you get ethanoic acid. However, how do you get ethanoic acid? This ethanol is first converted to ethanol. Then ethanol is further oxidized to ethanoic acid. Now, if you want to obtain ethanol alone, apply fractional distillation to separate this ethanol from ethanoic acid. Yeah, so in the presence of the strong oxidizing agent first acts on the primary alcohol to get the aldehyde. Then still in its presence, the aldehyde is further oxidized to a carboxylic acid. Hope that is noted. However, you can obtain ethanol if you apply fractional distillation to the product. Yeah. Similarly, if one has the propan 1-ol with the acidified. Now, that's why I was saying that if you use limited dichromate, like here in this reaction up, okay, let me first complete this. Now you see here, this reaction is disadvantageous. This reaction, which I emphasize here now. You see this reaction here, which has limited. It is disadvantageous because dichromate 6 acidified with sulfuric acid is also a strong oxidizing agent. So even if you use limited, I want to say that the aldehyde can still be oxidized further to a carboxylic acid, even if you use limited. So this one that has limited is a bit disadvantageous. It is a bit disadvantageous. Why? In principle, acidified dichromate 6 solution is a strong oxidizing agent. Whether you use it in limited availability or excess supply, you'll get it will still work as a strong oxidizing agent. However, we just use limited for the purposes of having it in mind that this distillation can be conducted to separate the products. However, I have emphasized that it is a bit chaotic because still in its presence, the product obtained can be oxidized further. So if I have propan 1-ol, one can get propanoic acid. Propanoic acid is obtained how? By first converting propan 1-ol to propanol, and then propanol is further oxidized to propanoic acid.